Hello YouTubes, welcome to Fancy Action Now, a very, very special episode. I'm here to reveal a system. I have it here. A production model Dreamcast 2. A system misinterpreted and misunderstood. And in terms of, if you watch my previous videos, you understand that it's not necessary for Sega to make another console. It's kind of the wrong question or the wrong wish. You know, when they say be careful what you wish for, make sure it's the right wish. So, you know, you might say, well, I wish to end world hunger and, you know, 50 billion or whatever, you know, people have to die to achieve that. You know, it's be careful what you wish for. And I think that could be no more true than with Sega fans, of which I count myself among that number, want a Dreamcast 2. Well, the purpose of this video is to let you know that it's already occurred. We've already had a Dreamcast 2 and 3 and 4. You know, the industry at that period of time was going through an evolution. So we've actually gotten our wish. You know, a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, this is controversial, or this is clickbait, or this is redonkulous. Honestly, I think it's an honest exposition of how the video game industry and business itself works, and the video game industry evolves. And you know, you have to admit, particularly in business, is about sentimentality. Sentimentality is very nice, okay? Sentimentality has its place, but there are many, many times that sentimentality in a business world has to be discarded for better business practices, better profitability, wider scope, you know, attract a different demographic, or the industry changed. I mean, think about landline phone. When I was coming up, that's all we had, landline phone, and everybody had one. And I was one of the first ones to get rid of my landline. I hated that thing. I hated that bill. It was way too much money. Back to topic. This console, the Dreamcast 2, already exists. Many of you may be surprised to understand what the Dreamcast 2 was, and keep an open mind that the Dreamcast 2 was a hybrid system. So that is the word, and you're hearing hybrids lots and lots and lots. Cartoons, science, you know, genetics, you name it, but it's definitely true in this particular case, probably more so than any other system. And the system is itself a groundbreaker. I mean, it is a hybrid, but it is a hybrid that took the best of two very specialized entities and created one very, very interesting console. So I am thrilled, I have it here, I am thrilled to unveil the Dreamcast 2.
Thanks for the lecture, punk.
Hello YouTubes, this is El Viejo Toro in the beautiful Zen Lounge on a beautiful sunny day that's about to be despoiled by a crazy, crazy storm that's on the way, and I will no longer need these. This video is designed to reveal the brother console to the much-loved Dreamcast. This is my Dreamcast, it's my original day one Dreamcast, and it does show the battle scars of a very well-used system. And at the time of its release, I was definitely in love with it. I was thrilled that we were getting a real powerful attempt at a console to upstage the PlayStation. And although I did own a PlayStation 1, and a PlayStation 2, which is almost a necessity because of the DVD player. You know, really sad they missed the boat on this. I was really sad about what really, in my opinion, doomed the console was the piracy. The piracy was rampant on the console. I experienced it. I would not participate in it. I would not take pirated games off my friends at the time. It offended my sensibilities to no end. I think we're in a different universe now. So, you know, I've gone over and done rants on repros, reproductions, and burned games and all that kind of stuff, where it's become part of the reality, it's become part of the market. But at the time, I knew as a business person as well at the time that that was going to destroy this console, because you basically cut the main artery of revenue that this could have potentially generated, which may have kept it alive, again, if they would have copy protected it. Now, was that an accident of Sega, or was it by design? And there's one very important clue on this machine that points to the release of the Dreamcast 2. One of the clues is the copy protection, okay? Non-existent. I mean, it was back in the day, it was running rampant, okay? And unfortunately, if you participated in that, you did contribute to the demise of the Dreamcast. Just be accountable for it. I chose not to. Many people did, as people will do. People will go for the savings or go for the free and forget that if you cared about the console, you cared about Sega or having them in the console market, you wouldn't have done that. But it is what it is, and that is now history. But everybody keeps wanting a Dreamcast 2 console. Well, guess what? We got one. It's a hybrid. It's not what you expect, but it was almost destined to occur if everything went right with this system. If everything went right with this system, I think you would still have had this console, and it would have taken Sega's place. Okay? Right now, Nintendo is in a very similar place to Sega right now. They're just removed a decade or so. You know, call it almost, I would say 15 years. So 15 years down the road, Nintendo finds itself in an almost identical position, identical financial structure. I watched a very good exposition on where Nintendo is at financially. They're hemorrhaging cash. The Wii U is a complete failure. Their Wii U is their Dreamcast. Or their Wii U is their Saturn. They're in a very touchy place right now. So they had the Wii, made a lot of money on the Wii, but they're burning through it. They're posting, you know, loss after loss after loss. And they need to hit it out of the park. This was supposedly the saving grace to recapture the marketplace. But were they intended to recapture the marketplace? Were there other players in the market that were undermining? You got to remember, this is business. Business can be a very, very ruthless, I don't want to say cutthroat, but I will say ruthless endeavor. And when a smaller company, and this is another, I'll give you one more hint. I'm going to show you the first hint right now. Here is the first hint. What are we seeing there? We are seeing the first time that a home arcade console had a Western operating system. I believe it is the first. The very first Japanese console to have a Western operating system, which contributed to the piracy. Okay, so we went to Windows, and Windows was gonna, we're gonna use a Windows front end, and it's gonna make things seamless in the States, and it's gonna be more of a United States focused machine than anything else. and we're going to use the Windows operating system, which is, we're debating about Android and Apple operating system and OSs. Back in the day, that was unusual to see a Windows operating system on a Japanese console. Okay, so already you see that this amalgamation, this hybridization of PC and home console, it began here in earnest. The online connectivity, the Windows front end, okay? Even the GD-ROMs, okay? You're looking at a hybrid system. And its sequel, its next iteration, is also a hybrid. It takes the hybrid nature of the Dreamcast and takes it to the next level. And honestly, it owes everything to this, pretty much. This system, the Dreamcast 2, owes everything to the Dreamcast 1 and takes it to the next level. Okay? So what we're looking at here is, we're looking at a system that owes everything to the previous generation. But, as we said before, in terms of smaller companies versus larger companies in a ruthless environment. So the operating system is a Microsoft operating system on a Sega machine. Who's the bigger fish there? And if you know anything about Microsoft business practices, you know that it's very commonplace for Microsoft to insinuate themselves in other companies, engage other companies, and absorb other companies, or undermine those companies. Okay, that is a common business practice. Okay, that's why companies are so careful about their intellectual property, protecting their IPs, protecting their processes, everything, anything like that, because it can be with enough with a little bit of investment money and the will to do it. I mean, you can go into a company, hire somebody to go in there, work in the company, say, okay, we want to learn more about this process. It's called corporate espionage, and it goes on all the time. If you don't realize it, sometimes it's above board or sometimes it's quite underboard. But when big fish see a little fish doing really, really well, one of the things really big companies do at some point, and sometimes that's all they do, is they collect a lot of cash, they grow very large, and their survival or their business growth model is to absorb and or undermine other companies. Sega, I think, is very fortunate today, probably only because they're a Japanese company. If Sega had been an American company, they would have been bought out a long time ago. So one of the things that I think Sega fanboys, again, I'm one of you, should be very happy about is that Sega is a Japanese company. They're a smaller company. They are a fraction of the size of Microsoft. And they are still going. They would not exist if they had been an American company. So they were saved by their nationality, by their local laws, their protections. Otherwise, they would have been absorbed a long time ago. Those IPs would have been bought up, and they'd have been all shipped over here if they were able to do so. I truly believe that. Sega is a healthy company, and they are getting healthier every day. And I do not want to see them spend their vitality on hardware. Hardware is a big fish business. It's low margin. You need a lot of influence. You need a lot of money to get it started, and you need to be able to lose money for a long period of time on expensive equipment, and you need to be able to put a machine out, not make money for 5 years or 4 years. I mean, some of these consoles that are being put out aren't making money for years and years and years, and the technology is different. It's much more complex and much more expensive. Sega made a great deal of money on a system that was just a solid state system with cartridges, and you're saying, well, cartridges are expensive. I'm going to reveal the brother of the Dreamcast, a dark brother, a brother that destroyed this system, was meant to destroy, was meant to supplant, was designed to do so, was designed to be the replacement of that system. It was one company taking everything from this to create this. Literally extracting the value like a vampire out of this system to create this system. And honestly, you should be glad it went as it went, because it could have gone a lot worse for Sega in a lot of different ways. So, although we see the shell of what Sega is, you're not. Here's the other rant. As a Sega fanboy, you are not going to be able to maintain a company forever. Companies have to grow, evolve, merge, change, be acquired, be spun off. And in this particular case, it was good. Because you got things that became very mainstream, very popular, and they are all based on the work of this system. The Dreamcast, with online connectivity, analog controls, a Windows operating system. Every system now, the Xbox One, the Xbone, the PS4, they owe it all, not to Nintendo, okay? Not to Nintendo. Nintendo's playing a really bad game of catch-up right now. They owe it to this system, to Sega, the most innovative console developer. And in a way, what has saved Nintendo is they have eschewed innovation. We don't care to innovate. We are going to hold our IPs. We are going to put out systems that are proprietary in the extreme. They're going to be underpowered so that we can keep our costs low, but we're going to make sure that they're strong enough to be able to facilitate our IP development. That's what they do, and that has kept them alive. You can get mad at Nintendo and be like, oh, it's the weaker system, and it's this and that and the other. They don't care about that. There's a reason they don't care. They're not trying to innovate. They're creating a platform for their IPs, and that's all they do. And now merchandise. And merchandise. That's what they do. Their IPs on platforms and merchandise. That's all they do. And they want a machine so they can keep their IPs really close to the vest. That is all they care about. They don't care about being the most powerful system. They don't care necessarily about multi-plats, although you got to debate about whether or not that's a smart idea or not. But they've stayed on their core business plan. Underpowered systems, which are cheaper to produce, but they provide an adequate platform for their IPs and facilitate the sale of merchandise. That is their business plan. That's all they do. That's all they've ever done. And that's why they want to keep their hardware. That's why they fought cartridge for so long. Can we put a game that looks pretty good, looks as good or almost as good as theirs on a cartridge? Yeah, do it. Do it. That was the N64. Look at the GameCube. Their GameCube failed because, again, they stuck to that business model. They did not care about the market. They're saying, we don't care about the market. We care about a platform for our IPs. We're going to do these little proprietary CDs that are a pain in the butt. We don't care about the limited storage. Is the game on there? Can we fit a game on there that of our IPs that will facilitate the sale of our merchandise? Yes. Will the diehard fan base still buy it? Yeah. Totally don't care. They totally didn't care about that. Didn't care about just, come on. You're going to make a CD system and you're going to make special CDs and keep it proprietary? Why would you do that? That's why. They want it proprietary. They want it difficult to duplicate. And they learned that duplication mistake from the Dreamcast. My personal opinion is if the copy protection was better on the Dreamcast, you would not have had a problem. But That was the one thing that kicked them out of the hardware market, was the number of units they sold was still solid. If not solid, it was a significant base that if you were generating revenue off of the games, which is where the real revenue is, this system could have survived and could have let Sega enter into that next generation a lot smarter. But there was a company out there that did not want that to happen. They wanted to take the learnings of their business association from that company and create a new system. A system that owed everything to this one, but it would be theirs to control in the marketplace, and Sega would devolve into a software development company, which is honestly where they should stay. And they should leave it go, because there are too many bigger fish out there that will eat your lunch. And that's kind of what happened to Sega. Sega was a relatively, mid-cap Japanese company. It still is. And it got eaten by the big caps. And it was an inevitability. And like I say, they've maintained their brand, they've retained their IPs, they're on every platform, they're expanding onto Steam and a lot of other platforms. Sega made it out alive, and they made it out in a good position, and they've got a nice book of business. They acquired Atlas, of course, and they're creeping back into the marketplace. But don't look for a Dreamcast 2, because it already exists. And here it is. The Light Brother. The Dark Brother. Abel. Cain. Enki. Enlil. Jesus. Lucifer. Whatever you want to say, this is the Dreamcast 2. The Microsoft Xbox. A system that owes everything to this one, and is literally the next iteration of this console, headed by a bigger company. The CD drive, the OS, the online connectivity. And one thing I want to show you, even from behind, look at these. One's wider than the other. One is wider than the other. See? I want you to take a look. So you got your power, all right? You've got your serial out. You've got your AV out. Good God. Okay, you got your AV out, and then you've got your broadband, right? Or at least your LAN connection. Power, same cord. You got your AV out here. Power, and then your LAN connection. Okay? You didn't need a serial out with this one. So now look at the front. We're going to compare the front. Okay? Sega, Microsoft, 4 bays. Circular logo. Here's the front. Right? 2 power here, power reset, or open the tray, which you didn't need on the other. 4 bays, Xbox. I mean, this literally looks like just a larger scale Dreamcast. And even the symbolism of these two systems. Again, Cain and Abel, Enki, Enlil, Romulus and Remus, a light brother, a dark brother, You know, I mean, it's literally that significant. By the way, this symbol, the symbol of the Xbox, the emerging X, you know, something emerging. If you go back and you look at the symbolism of that, it's an occult symbol. It's the symbol of Satan, which is the creature of the abyss that stole God's power. And Satan had stolen God's power, or had some of God's power, or was able to duplicate God's power in some way. The angels were sent to destroy him, but he could not be destroyed, and the battle was being lost, and it was only until the Creator himself intervened and imprisoned, not destroyed, but imprisoned Satan to the abyss. So the symbolism, and his symbol is an X in a circle. Okay? A la Xbox. So there is some overt symbolism here. There is some overt symbolism with the design of the Xbox. So you have that, and if you look at them again, the stock model, light, dark. I mean, it's just, when I begin to think about the relationship of these two systems, it was always meant to be, especially when I look at some of the titles, like some of the Sega titles on the Xbox, Panzer Dragoon Orta. I mean, we did not get a Panzer Dragoon on this system. We got it here, or a next game. I mean, all the other ones were on the Saturn. So you have this connection from Saturn to Scython, the Xbox. And you have a new Panzer Dragoon. You have a special edition Panzer Dragoon Xbox. You have a limited edition, collector's edition. So think about some of that. Because some of that makes sense in the sense of, and look at Bernie Stoller. I mean, is it a coincidence that, some of the key players at Sega of America wound up working for Microsoft? That was by design. That when you understand the corporate structures and how they work, Sega of America, absolutely Microsoft wants to have their guy in there. Absolutely they're going to want to have some input in there. They're going to want to drive that. And then, Bernie was basically there to say, I pretty much got their business model down. I honestly, because Microsoft, they did computer gaming, but they had not been in the console market. So they basically had an insider in Sega that extracted everything they needed to know about the console market. And again, you just can't go to Sega and go, yeah, can you tell us all your corporate secrets? We want to eat your lunch and take your market share from you so we can be earning that money and not you. That's something that I think the Japanese understand a little bit better than we do, because they just eschew the Xbox completely. I mean, it's just terrible over there. And I mean, that's because I think the Japanese people know, hey, this is American now. This is an American hardware. We want Japanese hardware, not American hardware. The controller is what tells the story. This is a Duke. Here is a Duke controller, right? And it has two analogs, a D-pad. It's got a start and a select button. It's got 4 colored buttons that are unashamedly the same color as the Dreamcast ones. They're in a different order, but they're the same color. So we also have black and white. Black and white. Okay. Where do we see that black and white motif? So anyway, you've got 2 bays. One for a memory card, one for a rumble pack. 2 bays. One for a memory card, one for a rumble pack. We'll come up a little closer. All right, there's your 2 bays on your Dreamcast controller, and here are your 2 bays for your Xbox controller. I'm like, again, a little bit bigger, basically the same design. You've got your triggers. Oh, guess what? We've got triggers here. I mean, again, these could be aftermarket controllers for their own systems. I mean, look at them. They're identical. All right, and here, look. You've got, this is so funny to me. You've got, look at it. Look at it. Again, it's like funny. It's like almost like they were made for the same system. Just one's a little bit more, one's a little bit more advanced, and not by much. I mean, the only thing really separating these two is another analog and 2 additional buttons. That's it. That is literally it. And again, where the VMU would have gone, you've got this big Xbox symbol, like they were contemplating the VMU and then scrapped it. I mean, it even has a big window area, a circular window area where there's just a badge. And this is where the VMU was. They were considering that in the design of this controller. They were seriously considering the VMU. And you can tell the bay is right above that, it's right above that area. You could have just stuck something in there and had a circular VMU memory card, but they went to the hard drive, which was ultimately the correct decision. So you have the Duke and you have the Dreamcast OEM controller. This controller owes everything to this one. Okay, they are basically, this is just an iteration of this controller. This is a variant of this controller, and that's all. That is all. And when you think about it, they're only one generation separated, and it really shows. Microsoft really pays a lot of homage to Sega for how closely they duplicate this hardware. And honestly, you'd almost have a patent infringement. You could almost do, again, if this was in the States, you could do a patent infringement. But again, that's to the benefit of Microsoft, where they're like, well, we don't have to deal with patent law over here with them. Certainly not as much. So, wow. So, that is kind of my exposition, my discussion on the Dreamcast 2. Stop wishing for a Dreamcast 2. Stop asking for a Dreamcast 2 because you already got one. You got a system that was completely based on the Dreamcast 2, and it was a hit. 84 million units is a hit, significantly over this unit. Okay, I believe, what was it? It was 40 to 54 million or something like that. I didn't do my research in terms of total units sold, but I know it was something around that mark. So this did about a third or more better than the Dreamcast. Still not the dominant system of the generation, but this was the Dreamcast 2. You had the online connectivity, you had the analog control, you had the memory card and the rumble packs, but you had a hard drive for the first time. You had copy protection, which honestly, I think Microsoft was the key player in undermining Sega out of the console market, which again was a nice way of doing it without being able to buy the company. If Sega was an American company, they would have just acquired the company and licensed all of the hardware and etc. They would have just acquired the company, but they were unable to do that, and I'm sure Sega was unwilling to go there. And if the Dreamcast, this is what I'm trying to say. Final note, if the Dreamcast was allowed to succeed, Microsoft could not have entered the market in the way they did. The Dreamcast had to fail. They had to undermine it, and Microsoft knew the economics of that. And they basically helped steer the company into a place where they weren't going to get the revenue off the games that they needed because of the rampant copy piracy that was going on. And then, because Sony's in the market, they steered away, they went to a different type of technology, and again, very advanced. They came out with an advanced console, and they were left. That's why the guy behind this thing died. He strained himself so poorly because they were steered down the wrong path. Was it technologically advanced? Yes. Was it the right technology? Were leveraged in the right way? No. So we have to be regretful about that. We have to mourn, like I did, mourn Sega exiting the market. But when you have a fish that's this big, that's willing to operate as ruthlessly as Microsoft is willing to operate, and I'm not judging, I'm just saying that that's how business sometimes is done. When you have a dominant fish like that, they're going and they want to enter the market. It's kind of like make a deal or get out of the way, because they're going to come for you and they're going to either take you out through the market, all right, or infiltrate you, or grab the secrets, or load your management staff with their people. Sega of America, okay? I think the Sega Genesis is what spelled the end of Sega in the marketplace, because the Saturn was a failure, and it was Sega of America who failed the Saturn. Bernie Stoller failed the Saturn, and he failed the Dreamcast. He was there to do that job, and when his job was done, he went to work for these guys. What a shocker, okay? But that's life, man, and what we got is a system that benefited from all the learnings from this one and from all the technology and business practices of Sega. So Microsoft has literally kept Sega going in the marketplace. And if you notice, there are a lot of Sega titles on the Xbox, a lot of key landmark franchises. Orta is just one of them. But Orta is the one that really kind of stuck with me, because I'm like, wow, Panzer Dragoon is a Sega title. I mean, that is a Sega property based on the artwork of Mobius. It is a seminal landmark title, particularly for the Saturn. And the color of the planet Saturn, all the planets have colors, by the way. Venus is green, Mars is red, of course. Saturn is black. The Sega Saturn was black, this is black. But this console is much closer to this one, but it does have some of the elements of the Saturn, including Panzer Dragoon Orta. So we're able to enjoy Sega as a developer on a different platform. The control of the platform was taken away, but they're still able to participate very strongly in that platform. And I am grateful for that, because I am a diehard Sega fanboy. And would I rather this be the Dreamcast 2? Yeah, but that was not going to happen. That was not going to happen. Too many big fish in the pond. So, with that being said, the Dreamcast 2, as I refer to it, or the Microsoft Xbox, is going to be a focus going forward in the next couple of months as I work on my collection, obtain new titles, and cover and review more of the Xbox. I'm going to focus on this system because my perspective has changed on this, as I really did some thinking and soul searching about this whole relationship between these two systems, and I have more respect for the Xbox. I used to be very angry with Microsoft and the Xbox, as I felt betrayed, and I felt they really kind of stole, and in the way they did, they stole the market from Sega. But they were always going to do that. They were always going to do that, and Sony was always going to come in and steal it from Nintendo. Sony went right after Nintendo on the portables, and they failed, but it's not a complete failure. And again, it's them chipping away at that market share. It's letting Nintendo know, hey, we're going to eat your lunch. We're going to come after you, and we're going to eat your lunch. And if you're not careful, we'll succeed. So, word to Nintendo, word of warning to Nintendo. You're very much in the same place as Sega was at the time of the launch of the Dreamcast. The NX is going to be key. Your handheld market share is not guaranteed or promised. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So, a lot of game industry exposition in this particular video. I don't know how the editing's going to go on this one. It's going to be crazy. But this was an important video for me to make, if nothing else, and to share with the guys and gals that have lived through this generation and on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. So keep gaming. Appreciate the Xbox, because that is your Dreamcast 2. Peace out.